Hey y'all, what's up? Peace. It's April 23rd. It's quitting time. We wrapped up cleaning up and reassembling all layers, brake master cylinders and calipers and stuff. We're installing new pads, and that job isn't going to be able to. We won't be able to finish it before the end of the weekend. We had Paul Martin's place, Brad at Paul Martin. So we called him and ordered some fittings for the braided brake lines. All the lines look okay. All the seal surface on the lines look okay, but all the fittings were aluminum. I don't do aluminum. This is particularly why the beveled part of the seal surface of those fittings. Every one of them had a line around them from tightening the brake line up. I use steel fittings. I always have. So sometimes we use brass if we're not going to take it apart too often. But the aluminum ones, even though they're anodized, a lot of that stuff comes from China, and it's cheap. It's the aluminum's soft. And Brad, I didn't even think about this. Brad was concerned about the part that's tapered, the pipe thread part of it, literally cracking and breaking with the weight of the brake lines on it. So that's why he doesn't like using aluminum. But I've never had any luck with the aluminum ones. You almost always, when you got to take something apart, you got to replace them. So it's just better just to buy the steel ones right from the get-go. If you're gonna make a big deal about 4 or 5 ounces of weight, a handful of fittings out of steel compared to aluminum. If that's the difference between you winning and losing, you need to work on the rest of your cart. If it comes down to a couple ounces, you got bigger problems, I think. But so let's take you over there. We'll show you what's going on. I'll give you a quick tip. Petroleum jelly, Vaseline, right? Very important when you're doing these brakes. You don't use a lot, just to make the new seal shiny, right? Because what it does, I'll sit you here. What it does is, let me get you here. What it does is, if you try to put the stuff together and you lube the seals up with, say, brake fluid or something, that'd be even worse. Let me grab one of these old ones out of here. I didn't show you the inside of the brake parts because they were in real bad shape. But this one here is a seal. It's a one-way seal, and then this one's just an O-ring. And you just take a little Vaseline on your fingers and just roll it around, and then take a little on your finger and run it right in the bore of the master cylinder, away from the two holes inside the reservoir, that shuts off and pushes the fluid, because you don't want to get anything obstructing those little holes. But this is how it should work. I mean, it should snap right back. A lot of times, if you don't use the Vaseline and you just use brake fluid, it'll be sticky. It'll go, it'll be, and you don't want that. I mean, because even after you get it on the cart and stuff and start using it, fill it up with fluid, it's still going to remain sticky. So petroleum jelly, just a tiny little bit, fixes the problem. It's a little speed secret for you, okay? What else we're going to do over the weekend here before we get the, it's Friday, so those fittings won't be here until Monday. We got everything else set. I had a few steel fittings here, enough to do one of the masters in the rear, so the rear set's ready. I guess I could go with that. We got to break the glaze on the rotors because we got new pads. I'm going to need help. I got to have somebody spin this axle while I do my thing there. But what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this ridiculous multitude of shims and stuff in the front and the rear, because this system is self-adjusting the way it came. I mean, I was going to make it self-adjusting if it wasn't already. Somebody's already removed the springs from the system. So what we're going to do is, because they're self-adjusting, once you set the caliper to the air gap with a brand new pad, so this is nice to do when you're doing it brand new. You see the gap between the inside surface of the rotor, and once we get a pad in there and get it bolted up, if there's any gap, then what we'll do is we'll obviously we're going to remove the wheel so we can deglaze the rotor. But what we'll do is we'll take the spacer off the stub axle. We'll take the whole hub and everything off, and if it's one piece, we'll start sanding it down until it gets relatively close. Not dragging, but you don't really want a bunch of air gap there, because what it's going to do is the whole system is now the pedal is going to be brakes. I mean, it's not going to be, it's not going to move this far. It's literally only going to move just this far, and you'll have brakes. That's the whole purpose of the self-adjusting system, is to have brakes right away. When you got a big, fast, heavy car like this, it isn't like a 4-cycle or a Yamaha. A lot of guys, when I used to do pre-tech, they bring these carts for their pre-tech inspection, and you'd grab the pedal and pull it because it was just something they always told you to do. Just check to make sure the brakes work. And some of those guys, their pedal would go all the way down here. Let me do this again. All the way down here, and then the brakes were right here. Because there was huge air gaps between the rotor and the brake pads, because they think they're qualifying for NASCAR or something, and that's fast to have their brake pads not dragging or whatever. It might be a bit of a bummer if you're pushing the cart through the pits. You might feel a little drag, but trust me, out on the track, again, if a little drag on your brake pads is costing you races, you're finishing second, you need to look at something else, okay? So, before we get too far into all this, Lara's already told me that he posts these videos on his Facebook page, and I guess Craig, the guy that used to own the cart, why I don't know, felt that I was picking on him or something. That's not the case at all. Anything wrong with the operation of this go-kart is first and foremostly responsibility of the driver. If you drive a cart that someone else owns and you don't bother to check their work, shame on you, because it's your ass that's in the car. Okay? This is why I don't hand stickers out to people to put on your go-karts, because one, I could care less about the advertising. Two, if somebody sees my sticker on a go-kart, they're going to think I had my hands in it, and I don't want to be responsible for somebody's poor workmanship, right? Not that I would assume that Craig had his hand in any of this. Larry's had this cart for a few years. What I found in the master cylinders and in the brake lines and in the brake calipers was certainly not Craig's fault. It's Larry's fault. Larry's the owner and driver of the car. As soon as the car changes hands from owner to owner to owner, you got to be responsible for the function of that cart yourself. So shame on you, Larry, for leaving peanut butter in your master cylinders, and that's literally what it looked like. It was bad, and the rear brake lines were completely obstructed. I couldn't blow air through them, so with the air compressor. So there was a lot of things wrong, but it's maintenance. These things, especially your brakes on a big, fast, heavy cart like this, you got to pay attention to the brake system. Is a maintenance item. I would say every 10 hours. Every 10, just to be safe, every 10 hours of running time. You're going to want to, just put a bleeder on there. I put the fluid, the gravity feeder on there, and just crack the bleeders with hoses on and just bleed clean fluid through, man, probably twice a year. You've seen videos of me doing it, guys. You don't even have to pump a brake pedal to bleed your brakes. It's just all done by gravity. So there's no reason not to continue doing this regularly, Larry. So we'll give Larry it's our own little personal little bleeder. There's nothing to it. It's really just a large syringe that we take the pusher out, right, the plunger out, and we put a tube on it, and just anything, a big long paint stick or a piece of flat stock that you can use some spring clamps and clamp it on, just to hold the thing up in the air, get it up a foot up in the air. You pour brake fluid in it, and you burp the air out of the line between that syringe and the master cylinder down below, and it'll just gravity feed. Man, you crack the bleeders, and out comes the old fluid, and until you see nice, clean purple fluid coming through, and then you know you got new, fresh fluid in all the time. And if you do that, you won't get sediment, you won't get crap in your master cylinders, you won't get crap in your brake lines. Again, a big, heavy, fast car like this is going to develop heat while it makes braking power. So that heat does affect things. It will affect things. So it isn't just the sitting over the winter in the cold or whatever. It's a combination of everything. So again, we're going to play around with this a little bit. We're going to, like I said, we're going to get rid of the thousands of brake shims and make one solid spacer, especially for the rear, but for the front as well. Probably won't need something just a little bit bigger than this. Certainly won't need all of this, that's for sure. What this does, if you put all this stuff back in with the self-adjusting system, is you get this piston coming so far out of the body of the caliper, out of the bore, that it becomes dangerous. You don't want that thing sticking out more than half. I mean, if it's an inch long, you don't want more than ever want. When the pads are worn out, you don't want to see a half inch of piston. It's just common sense. You know, it's just common sense. So we're going to play around with this a little bit over the weekend. We'll bust out some aluminum stock after we figure out what we need to do for width on those spacers. We'll get all that stuff done. We're waiting for the 90 degree fittings for each front. And a 90 and a straight fitting for the front system for the master there. Then we can put all this stuff back on. Another thing we're not going to do is we're not going to use these. As you can see, I got them laying around all over the place. These little Brembo remote reservoirs. Again, I learned the hard way. I mean, I've got a handful of them. Why? Because I bought a bunch and I put them on, and then I found out it's not the way to go. It has a bellows inside, right? It's you know, so as the vacuum in the system is you know, wanting to pull, it can drop this down. The problem is these do not vent to atmosphere, and on a self-adjusting system, the master cylinder has to vent to atmosphere. So what I do, this is just a piece of stuff. I'll do the same thing here. We'll put a piece of tubing, brake tubing on here. I'll make a little clamp, little hose clamp type of bracket deal, kind of like this thing here that held these, and it'll clamp and hold these. These will actually be our reservoir. It'll hold those in place, and then we put a little fitting in the top, and then something like this, a little rubber cap with a pinhole in the top, so it has atmosphere. So as the pads wear, you know, they go in and they'll just barely come back. But if, you know, with the remote system or this remote reservoir and not having a bellows and not being open to the atmosphere, it'll still do this, just like it has springs. So it'll never completely self-adjust. And that's why he kept putting these, Larry kept adjusting these things at Mid-Ohio a couple of years ago. Those guys were fighting with these things. Once you get to a self-adjusting system, you don't need spacers, or you never got to touch a stub axle spacer. You never have to touch a caliper spacer ever again. The pads will just wear down. They just keep, you know, pistons keep advancing as the pads wear down. You got to keep your eye on your brake pad wear. But so that's it. We're playing around with this a little bit. We're going to get over to Rich's house this weekend. We'll bring you some video from over there. Hopefully some pictures and video of the first car that him and Kenny, well, he's really done all the cleaning up on this thing. We're going to get it all back together. We got everything we need now, and we'll get wheels, tires on it, and snap pictures. Hopefully we'll get a little sun, and you get a good look at you know, what it looked like before. We got, you know, the other carts that are still in the same condition. And then what this one here looks like. Richie did a really nice job cleaning it up, and You know, the better they look, the better chance we get of getting a dime for them. There's Shay. Hi, Shay. Shay's home from work. It's Friday. She doesn't want to be on the movie. Say hi.
I'm going to do retail therapy.
Okay, retail therapy? She's going shopping. That's what that means.
I got Kohl's cash.
Kohl's cash. Retail therapy, women are calling it now. Look at that. I'm surprised she stuck her head in and got on the movie. She's never done that before. But so there you go. We've got plenty of things to keep us busy. We'll play with this a bit. We're going to get this back to Larry probably Tuesday, Wednesday. Parts are going to come on Monday. We'll be able to snap everything together and bleed it out. So Tuesday or Wednesday, we could probably get this thing heading over to West Olive and get it back to Larry. We've got a bunch of time yet to get the two carts ready to go in the truck and go down to Mid-Ohio for sale. And of course the vintage car, we're waiting on our new TIG welder. Yeah, that's right. Me and Rich at 56, 57, 58 years old, the both of us, finally, we should have bought that thing 30 years ago. But so here we are. We're gonna get our own TIG welders on the way, and we'll get to welding up those spindles. I really don't want to even tack it together with the MIG welder now. I don't even have the TIG welder here, and I'm already spoiled. I don't want to throw any welding splatter on my new paint job and all that stuff. So that's all coming. It's all coming. Sorry for the length, but it's been a week, so I figured we'd shoot a bit of a lengthy video and tell you what we got going on. Larry, shame on you. You need to clean this go-kart because it's a pig. It's absolutely, look at my hands. And that was just from wiping off the rear end back there. So I'm not cleaning this go-kart. I'm gonna put it back together and leave as much dirt as I can for Larry to clean up. Hang in there, y'all. We're playing with go-karts as the world turns upside down. We're trying to stay above water, keep our breath, and you know, you go play with our go-karts and just be joyful, knowing that it's going to get better one way or another. Hang in there, y'all. God bless. Godspeed.